Hello and welcome back to Urban Yolk. My name is Giulia. Benvenuti, bentornati. Today we're going to have a look at our balcony garden in northern Italy. A little update. So, in the last video, we were actually at the initial stages of setting this up, and now we have our little table and the pots and everything, cat netting up, and yeah, it's just off of our sitting area, our TV room. It's actually really beautiful. I love having it. So let's get into what we have. And yeah, then I can tell you a bit about what's going on in the garden. So it hasn't done exceptionally well. Some of the things did really well, like the cornflower here and a few of the other flowers. But we're new to this climate. We are from South Africa, if you're new here, and we stayed in a fairly dry area of South Africa with very long growing seasons, so we didn't have to do very much to get things going in the way of like worrying about the season and frost as much. Even though we did have some frost, it wasn't as big of an issue. And we didn't have problem with moisture because it was really dry. So this is our first attempt, and I think all in all it went all right. But we made a lot of notes for next season. So starting on the one side, we have cornflowers. These are seeds that I brought over from South Africa from our garden there. And then in our first little towers, first time ever using like a vertical grow system, we have valerian, parsley, African daisies at the bottom, some oregano that's been growing there, and a few succulents at the bottom of that. Again, some plants that I actually brought with from South Africa, and then a bit of thyme as we bought here. Then we have these tomatoes. We did the Pianolo, which is the Mount Vesuvius one, and the San Marzano, but they did not do very well in this pot. Specifically, the tomatoes and the basil, as you can see here, they just did not want to grow and only really caught a bit of steam in the past few weeks. So I'm not sure that any of that will go to fruition. Here we have an avocado seedling. um, yeah, I'm not sure we'll ever get avocados, but why not? And this is a very special plant. This is the painter's brush, and it's the very first plant that my husband and I got together on our very first trip to Nelspruit. This was a volunteer tomato. We don't know what it is, but my husband stuck it in there and it just did really well. By the looks of it, it appears to be some kind of determinate because it grew to this height and stayed there and then just started making flowers. And it hasn't really grown any further, so I'm not sure what it is, but it's just nice to see some fruit growing, right? Then we have a variety of chilies. We did not label what chilies we put where. Silly us. But we'll see what comes up. We'll try to overwinter them. Then we've got our marigolds and some sunflowers growing, which is really cool. I really like this variety of marigolds. There have been a few different variations that came up. Some a bit more yellow, some a bit more orange, some a bit more red. So it's quite nice to see that variety. And of course, I have to have sunflowers. It is probably my favorite flower. Yeah. Add a bit of rocket in that little pot, and then the other two smaller pots we have daffodils, but those have stopped quite a while ago, so we'll see them next year. And here we've got the lettuce that's gone to flower, and there's also a few marigolds and borage growing in that little vertical garden. Ooh, and something I'm super excited about is sage, because sage is a perennial here. It does really well. And yeah, I love sage. This is a special little project. All the sticks are protected from the cats so they don't just jump in there all the time. There's Mooncake. She's such a nonsense. She knows she's not supposed to be in there, but while I was filming, I didn't want to chase her away. She's really happy and cool. We've got our rosemary. It's done. really well, and in this climate we have to do basically nothing. Then we've got some more sunflowers in another pot, and oh yes, these are the Choco dwarf sunflower seeds that I still had from an order we got in South Africa, so I decided to plant it, and they did fairly alright, but I would like to try and start them a bit earlier next year, and as well as the coxcomb that I've got here that basically made like 3 leaves and just hasn't gone any further. So those I would like to start again next year as well. Yeah, and that's where I got the daffodils. Hilcatry. Then we've got in that pot the gladiolas that's busy growing, and there's also a snowflake flower which we will see toward the end of winter. Here we've got an edelweiss and a castagna. Castagna is a chestnut, so it's a chestnut tree. And this one we had radishes growing and some went to seed. Then we cut them off and they're kind of growing back. But there's also a bit of parsley and then some suckers from the tomatoes just growing in there, just to have something growing in there for now. I mean, it probably won't come to fruition. You can see mooncake being a nonsense. This is our asparagus. It's our first year growing it, so we left it to, establish itself. And boy, did it establish itself. It is so, so tall and it has not stopped producing since the beginning of spring. It's amazing. And it's living with our cherry tree, which is a celeste cherry tree. And I believe it's a self pollinating sweet cherry. I must just double check. Then we got this from IKEA. Nice little table and chairs for us so we can sit by the cherry tree and kind of enjoy the view a little bit, but also just enjoy being in the garden and being on the balcony. It's a 3 meter by 3 meter space. So it's fairly big for a balcony. It's not like a tiny balcony, but it is much smaller than what we're used to in a climate that we're not used to. So hopefully next year will be a bit more productive. In one of the old litter boxes, we got cat grass growing for them so they don't chew on the plants. And then in this one, we had lettuce, but now there's just some kale that's busy growing, and we'll probably grow a bit more for the autumn season. And behind that is the agretti. I cannot remember what agretti are in English, but I will try and find it and leave a link down below. They're quite lovely. If you like asparagus, you'll probably like them. Then we've got the African tobacco, also seeds from South Africa. We just love growing it and it helps with pest control. Then in each of the other hanging pots, we have a few other chilies, and in some of them, we've also got the blue butterfly peas growing with it, which we will overwinter and then so they can grow properly next year. Still not sure what chilies we have, but we're hopeful. Last but not least is the sweet potato we just had growing up from a pot down below and is going to just cover and hopefully flower a little bit before the season ends. So that's our garden. The cherry tree is really exciting. My husband is busy training it so that it can stay fairly small on the balcony. And yeah, the cats enjoy the little cat tree outside, and we're going to revamp that so they have a bit more of a permanent area outside. They love looking over the edge and then sniffing around and seeing what people are cooking and watching the birds that land on the roof because we are in the penthouse and basically in the roof. And yeah, so me and Cake finally got out. And that's us. So we sit here, we enjoy it. This is our little balcony garden. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any tips, let us know. And we'll see you in the next video. Ciao!